So chances are, if you, like me, have ever been a beginner composer, then you may have tried the free Lab series from Spitfire Audio. Now, Labs became really famous because they kind of had a bit of everything, like everything from foghorns to like spooky violins, and it's all free. And so in this context of Labs being a force for democratizing access to composing, people were kind of upset when Spitfire announced that there would be a new Labs Plus subscription plan coming out this year. So what is the deal with Labs Plus, and is it worth your time and money? We're gonna investigate. Okay, so here's the thing I think is really interesting. When you look at like the list of stuff that's included, all of the previous lab stuff, which was already free, is still free. But you know, most of these additions that are in the Labs Plus plan are basically taken from like different Spitfire products. So for example, you know, you have all of these BBCSO kind of libraries. These are presumably taken from, you know, the library of the same name, the BBC Symphony Orchestra. Similarly down here, like the Cimbalom, this is actually from their Originals Cimbalom, which I happen to already own. But that is also like a paid product, which was originally like totally separate from Labs, which is kind of weird. So when you look at that and you consider that BBC is also like €400 or something for the core version, I think it's all the more confusing to me why they call this Labs Plus when like the things that are really on the subscription don't really have anything to do with Labs. You know, like why didn't they just call this Spitfire Plus? I think that would have gone down a lot easier with a lot of people. But anyway, this is a good point. Just because this is called BBCSO and you know, this is called BBCSO doesn't necessarily mean that they are the exact same product. So I thought for the next part of the video, let's compare Labs Plus version of these products to the original products that they were taken from, basically. But first I have to subscribe. Shit. Okay, I feel like the BBCSO violins are probably going to be a highlight for people, so let's just test and compare that one. Okay, so let's do a little comparison. I have on the left the core version of BBCSO standalone, and on the right here we have the Labs version. So you can see right away that like the full version of BBCSO Core has like 3 different pages of articulations you can choose from. On the Labs Plus side, it is definitely shorter. With that said, I mean, I think these are kind of the basics you would want. There is a lot of extra fluff in the BBCSO, which is nice to have, but I probably don't use that often. Let's compare the sound on, I guess, the long. Okay, there is no legato in the Labs Plus version, but we can try the longs against each other. Okay, so first off, we're just going to try Labs. All right, now let's turn on just the original BBCSO standalone and compare how that sounds. Here we go. I don't know, they sound extremely similar to me. I think those are pretty identical, personally. So it's good to know you get the exact same sound compared to BBCSO Core if you're using the Labs Plus version. It basically seems like you're getting just a few less articulations. Let's try some of the shorts to see if they are also the same. So we have short spiccato on Labs here. I think that's going to correspond to... Well, it's just called spiccato on BBCSO, but I'm assuming this is the same. So here's Labs. And here is the original BBCSO. I'm pretty sure those are just the identical samples, to be honest. So that to me is a pretty good value add. It's not like you're getting all of BBCSO Core in this subscription, but you're getting a good portion of it. Really the only thing that's like badly missing, I would say, is the legatos from here. But overall, pretty good selection. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, BBCSO has a few other cool features. For instance, you can use key switches to switch between articulations. As far as I can see, it doesn't seem to be possible to do that in Labs Plus because I don't see an option for it, and you would usually switch articulations by going out of the interface completely and just like loading another instrument into memory, which seems kind of different to this approach where with the original BBCSO, it's just one instance and you can switch between articulations just like that. Okay, so here is the very large Originals Cimbalom, and we're going to put it alongside the Cimbalom, which is included in in Labs Plus, not BBCSO. Got it on the mind now. Okay, so if you compare the patch list, pretty much sustained, damped, tremolo, warp, these are all accounted for in Labs Plus. The only thing you miss out on is the performance patch, which I think is kind of the highlight of the Originals version, because it means that instead of having to choose between long and short notes, as you do in the Labs Plus, when you have it on performance mode here, you can just play longs or shorts and it just figures it out. Which I think is pretty handy. Compare if we went to short sustained on Labs Plus, that is not going to be possible. It's subtle, but on those long notes, it's not sustained for as long as it is in the performance. Okay, one more time. Here's Originals. And here's Labs. It does sound different. Okay, let's try Warp. That is literally identical between the two, I'm pretty sure. In terms of controls, again, I think you have basically the same setup. In terms of effects, the big difference is on the Originals version, you actually have control over the microphones. Here we go. I can turn off these. Whereas that amount of granularity is kind of not something that you get on Labs Plus. Alright, so to bring things back full circle to the question I answered at the beginning of the video, is the Labs Plus subscription even worth it? You know, I would say that this subscription does have everything that you need to write professional sounding orchestral music. From this perspective, you know, Labs Plus is not a bad deal. You are paying €13 a month to get access to most of BBCSO and access to a bunch of other pretty useful orchestral instruments. Does it have all the flexibility or ability to like really hone in on your sound that you would if you just bought these big sample libraries separately by themselves? Not really, but I mean the core experience, the core sounds are there. So if you're not in a position to drop like hundreds of euro on lifetime access to a instrument, then maybe €13 a month is a good option for you. But before you take out your credit card, I would urge you to maybe shop around a little bit, because, you know, Labs Plus is not the only subscription for, you know, these kind of core foundational orchestral sounds. Indeed, there are other options such as East-West Quantum Leap or Musio that can often offer more content or more specialized content, sometimes for a lower price. So I would really urge you to look around, give all of these services a try, and really see which one suits you best. I mean, that's the simple beauty of subscriptions, right? I mean, sure, you don't own it, but you can decide on a whim to try somebody else's version. So go crazy, go make some music, don't worry too much about the tools you are using. And I will see you guys next time.